Morning all, welcome to the Bayer station. My name's Neil Pettican, I'm part of the Bayer Turf Solutions team. I've got some of my colleagues here as well, and we're also joined by Dr. Christian Spring, and Christian's here from the STRI, and he will talk about the specific trials that we've got in place, looking at various different things on different sites. Who's been to the STRI research event previously? One, okay. So hopefully I'll explain through to you. What we've got today is a bit of a continuation on some of the trials that we've had in previous years and what we've been demonstrating to you. Around about 3-4 years ago, we introduced a new test product, it was called at the time. That was a new product for Bayer to the UK, and the uniqueness thing about it was that it was the first product that contained stress guard formulation technology. This is important for a few reasons, because what we're doing is we're making the active ingredients within our products work harder, and it's how we formulate the products moving forward to give you benefits, basically. So what we did, that was a test product at the time. That has now been launched, and that's called Interface. Last year at the STRI research, we also introduced a brand new fungicide. That's an interesting new fungicide that it's actually within a new chemical class of the active ingredients. So if you look at the rotation that you're looking for products, there's 5 chemical classes. This will bring an extra one, so it gives you 6. It helps you have a disease resistance management strategy, so it'll be a nice addition. Is anybody aware of stress guard formulation technology? Have they heard of it at all? Yeah, a couple of you? What I'm going to do is just explain to you exactly what it is. So it's the whole formulation, it's how we put things together. You start off with active ingredients. Those are the key part of a fungicide that attack the disease pathogen and give you the efficacy that you need to control the disease. If you look at an insecticide, for example, again you have the active ingredient that will target the pest and give you the control from the mode of action that it uses. That's the active ingredient. What you also then have are inert ingredients. These inert ingredients range from some things that are not particularly interesting, but they're absolutely vital to the performance of the product. These can be things like an antifreeze. So if you're storing it through the winter months, it's a liquid, you don't want it to freeze. Fairly simple, not particularly interesting. But also when you then apply it into your sprayer, you don't want things to foam up. So these are these inert type of ingredients. You also then have what we call turf-specific co-formulants, and this is the important thing about stress guard, that all stress guard products are designed specifically for turf. So they're not, the active ingredients can be used in many different sectors, but if the product is not formulated for the specific use, it may not work in exactly the same way. So we need to make sure that it's formulated to its maximum to give you the control that you need. So these turf-specific co-formulants are, as the name suggests, designed for turf. So this can range from things like adjuvants, making sure that you're getting the product onto the leaf, wetting agents, making sure that they're spreading on the leaf, and a grass leaf, not another type of crop. So for example, if you look at an adjuvanted formulation, optimized to the active ingredients that are within that formulation, you can reduce the active ingredient content because you make that active ingredient work harder, and you can still gain the disease efficacy and the disease control that you need with hopefully a reduced environmental load from less active ingredients. And that's what the turf-specific co-formulants can start to do. There's also some other elements, and these provide you plant health benefits, some extra benefits. This can be things like colour recovery. And that brings us to the trial here, and what we're talking about is stress particularly today. So I'll hand over to Christian. Christian will talk through the trial, and then we'll explain some of those things a little bit more when we've gone through that.
Thank you very much, Neil. Morning everybody. What I'm going to talk about today is stress, and generally anything that's under stress is going to be more susceptible to abiotic factors. So in terms of turf, if you have a stressed grass plant, it's going to be less resistant, less resilient to external pressures such as disease pressure, for example. Let's focus a little bit on stress first of all. When anything is stressed, it generally becomes less resistant and less resilient to external factors. That could be abiotic stresses, sunlight, wind, temperature. moisture stress. It could be a result of play, for example. The fact that when players are playing on surfaces, they're causing physical damage to the turf, to the plant structure. So these stresses all come together in generally multiple layers. So you tend to get a series of stresses come together to affect the health of the plant. And then if we're talking disease, once the plant health has been negatively impacted, it's easier for the disease to infect the turf. So what we're doing with Bayer this year is we're running a series of trials looking at stress and disease management and how we can, through use of fungicides and extra ingredients within fungicides and different formulations, help reduce the stress that occurs preventatively but also curatively to help prevent disease, but also when we get disease, how do we resolve that problem as quickly as possible, as effectively as possible? Minimum input, maximum benefit. One of the trials we're looking at over in the far corner of our research facility is looking at disease coupled with wear stress, so literally players walking across the surface causing physical damage to the grass plant, pathways for pathogen ingress, for example, and drought stress as sort of multi-layered factors within that. So looking at that in combination with drought and disease and how combinations of fungicides can help in that situation. If we look just over there, you can see that beautiful big beech tree which is just starting to change colour. That, if you're an annual meadow grass plant, is hell on earth. That's where we grow anthracnose. Generally, as the saying says, don't work with animals or children. I think I'll add to that plant pathogens, because they never come when you want them and where you want them and consistently where you want them across an area. As a scientist, I want to get fusarium or microdochium or tacle consistently across an area. It never comes. Just like over there, you can see this tacle creeping from the edge. It never consistently comes across and always causes a headache when you're trying to set up trials. But going back to our anthracnose area, to get the diseases, quite often we have to create that stressful environment, going back to stress, that actually gets that disease. So over there, under that tree, we have light stress, very heavy shading, air movement. The surface is continually wet. We don't give it very much nitrogen at all. We don't aerate it so the soil's compact. This time of year, we then break out our wear machine and start physically damaging the turf, causing problems. So the meadow grass at this point is starting to go, crikey, I'm not really liking this very much. And then injury to insult, we then go and dump a whole year's worth of top dressing in the space of 3 months. So whilst the grass is really struggling to grow, it's got to try and grow through the top dressing. And then all of a sudden, what happens this time of year? Beautiful anthracnose, fabulous anthracnose. And it allows us a situation to test a variety of different products and see which ones are best at, yes, controlling the disease, but also helping that turf recover from that disease. We all generally, I guess, have disease at some point on our surface or worried about disease on our surface. So it's also about how we control it, but how do we get that surface back to as pristine, high quality, healthy turf as possible in as short a time period as possible. And at the far end of the trial ground up there, we've got ryegrass areas growing, where if you're managing football pitches, stadia, this time of year, of course, one of the classic diseases is leaf spot. So using these products to how we control leaf spot within ryegrass turf. But the trial we want to talk about today is under my feet, is this area here. It's been selected because, as you can see, there's a lot of disease. And at this time of year, when we're talking about fine turf management, you're talking disease central generally. It's when we're starting to get back end of summer into autumn, when we're starting to get microdochium patch, tacle, anthracnose, all our lovely diseases, which I get very excited about because that's my job. But generally you guys are starting to think, crikey, I don't want any of these near my turf, thank you very much. So why are we here? Well, this area we're standing on at the minute is a sand-based green, has a sand construction. It's being kept very dry, so we're trying to keep the moisture content very low. And that's kind of evidenced by the fact that we've got a fairy ring over there. This area was actually reconstructed with brand new root zone about 6 years ago. So I want to know how that fairy ring got there. So that fairy ring has cropped up because we've been trying to keep it dry, and the good old Yorkshire weather, we get nice wetting cycles and then we try and dry it down again. We can't really do too much irrigation since our irrigation system is being renovated. So all our water we do, if it's not natural, is through the hose pipe, through hand watering as well. So that's one level of stress. The other level of stress is nutrient. So we're keeping this on a kind of lean program. It's getting 40 kgs of N per hectare per year. So it's like a slim fast for turf really. And so this area naturally is used to getting a lot more nitrogen. So it's kind of on a bit of a crash diet. And of course what happens is you end up with this two stresses working together, moisture, nutrients, and then a couple of weeks ago we came into disease season, high disease pressure period. There is a little bit of thatch under here, and of course that helps create the environment, the habitat where a lot of these pathogens are living. And what happens? The disease flares up, and we can see here an absolute smorgasbord of disease right in front of me. I'm getting very excited, and I'll try and keep calm. We can see this take-all patch. If you're a fan of take-all patch, when you go to the next station up there, there's a fine turf area just beneath that greenhouse. Fabulous take-all patch. It just goes to show you what happens if you apply lime at the wrong time or in the wrong situation. So we've got loads of take-all patch. We've got microdocium patch in here, and that's tending to sort of dry out a little bit now, so it's just the scarring at the minute. We've also got in and around where the take-all and the microdociums are infecting, we're getting anthracnose as well. So we've got a whole load of disease. So this whole area, all of a sudden, flared up in the space of sort of 2 days with loads and loads of disease, which presented us with a fabulous opportunity to be able to start to look at how can we use fungicides, and in particular thinking about stress within sort of fungicide formulations or stress management tools within formulations to help not necessarily control the disease, but actually elicit better recovery. So obviously at this time of year, we get a bit of growth. So we can encourage a little bit of regrowth, but if this occurred in end of October, early November, very poor growing or poorer growing conditions, less chance of that turf recovering, so the scars we'll be left with could well go through the entire winter season. So this area, absolutely rammed full of disease. What we did is we treated these plots with various fungicides. So we'll go through the fungicides. We've got 3 available fungicides on in the marketplace. We've got 2 there, and we have 1 just here. We have an untreated control, which has had no fungicide applied. And then we have in this plot here, we have interface. And in this plot here, we have the latest Bayer test product that we're actually evaluating within this trial. And those 2 sets of plots, which are greener, are the ones that have the stress guard formulation in. So the first thing we've been doing, we've been assessing them and seeing what the effect has been, is yeah, absolutely, there's a green up effect. So colour scores start to go up. We start to get a greener turf. This one here, this is the Bayer test product, and the interface, definitely greener. Actually, it's a lot easier now that the sun's gone in, because you can actually get the colour contrast that a little bit better. So yeah, when we're rating these, when we're scoring these, doing our assessments, these are definitely getting a better colour score in comparison to the other plots, which have just had fungicide or no fungicide applied at all. A little bit of nitrogen got applied as a liquid feed just to help boost growth, because we didn't want there to be too many scars in the area, as you would do. But again, a very light liquid feed, nothing horrendous. We didn't want to put lots of nitrogen on here because that would just cause it to flare up again. The whole thing is getting managed in a consistent way. So it's all getting fed same regime, same time, same water, same mowing regime. Nothing's been tricked up. The only thing that's different here is that the fungicide treatments have been applied. So yes, with the interface and with the Bayer test product, we're seeing better green coloration, better visual quality, but more importantly, when we start to look at the fungicides have done their job, they've controlled the disease. That's what they're designed to do. But really what we've also been focusing on is recovery. And this is just a pure fluke as to where we set the trial up. We've got this beautiful patch of take-all here, and then we look at it, there's its friend within the treated plot, and yes, the fungicides knock the take-all patch on the head, and actually when we start looking at it up close, it started to recover. We're getting better recovery on this plot with a stress guard when we compare it to a fungicide just by itself. So it's really focusing on, yes, we've controlled the disease, but how can we get this back into play in as best quality as possible in the shortest possible time? You'll notice we've got 2 sets of plots here. The fungicides were applied to all those treated plots 13 days ago. And then on Monday this week, we applied a second application to this half of the plots, just to show the benefit, or just to show the colour difference with the stress guard again. Actually, just after we applied that second application, which was on Monday, we all came in on Tuesday morning to find that there was like tons of gravel and dirt washed down onto the roads, kind of got interested to look at the rain gauge, 31 millimetres in 3 hours. And I was kind of thinking, oh crikey, we've just applied a load of fungicides there, that's got to get washed off. But actually, what we've been noting this week is this second application, where we made a second application, those plots have been still darker, so obviously the fungicide has had a chance to work and sort of lasted through that rainstorm event. And through the week, we've seen that there's been a big colour difference, but over time that colour difference is starting to even out a little bit, because that's what they're designed to do, is actually sort of, I won't give too much of the game away, but as the kind of the product starts to work and enter into the plant. So for me, the key thing is, yes, we've seen differences between plots, we've seen better recovery, better colour, better quality, and because we've treated everything in exactly the same way, the only difference is what we've applied. We're pretty confident in the conclusion that, well, whatever's in the stress guard is resulting in that benefit, in that regrowth benefit, rather than when you compare it to just the fungicides by themselves. So if I hand back to Neil now to talk a little bit more about the stress guard technology and what it's actually doing in this situation.
Thanks, Christian. So to touch on one of the points that Christian made is about if you do an application and the weather turns against you. In the stress guard plots, part of the formulation is this rain fastness. So in all stress guard plots, you will get an hour rain fast. So that means if you get an opportunity, you've got disease, you need to get on, you need to get it sprayed, you know that you're going to get the product on, get it dry on the leaf before that weather may come. So these particular plots were sprayed 13 days ago. Hopefully some of you are aware of a Bayer product, Chipco Green. It's a great product, it's been around for quite some while. It is, as the name suggests, it's green in colour. What that is it's a dye. So as you apply the product, it goes on. It doesn't last particularly long because you're mowing regularly and then that will come out. Within the stress guard formulation technology, you have a pigment formulation. So how that's working is, one, you're getting that initial green effect. It is green in colour too, so you are getting a dye. So that gives you that initial green. But then you actually start to get the product that's working. It's moving into the cells of the plant and it's starting to give you an extra benefit. And that's actually utilising the natural green colour, the natural green pigment, the chlorophyll within there. So hopefully you agree, after 13 days you can still see that colour differentiation in place. So that's because it's given you that long-lasting effect. Best way to describe of how that longer term effects is due to a UV protectant. So like all of us, you know, we can get sunburn if we don't apply a UV protectant. Same kind of thing in grass. You have wavelengths of sunlight which are good for plant growth, and you have wavelengths that will be damaging to those cells. How we react to damaging wavelengths is we get sunburn, we go bright red. Grass will react too by them becoming stressed, and that makes it more prone to any disease problems that can come forward, and other problems as well that can be associated with stress. So what it does is it acts a bit like a sun cream for the chloroplast. It blocks the UV light out, and that means that you are only actually getting the beneficial wavelengths that you need. That means that with good healthy chloroplasts, the plant can photosynthesize effectively and it can retain that nice natural green color. So it's not a, you know, it's not a really vivid green. It is a natural green, so it's going to blend in with the situation that you're at. Any questions, just briefly, just on that element? No? Okay, what we've got now is we've got a few sunglasses. You may have to share a few through. What these glasses do is they take the green wavelengths out, so you're not actually getting the reflection of the green pigment, and you can start to see the disease stress, drought stress, and hopefully you can see some extra differentials that the stress guard plots are actually giving you compared to your naked eye. Feel free to have a walk.
So if you look at the plots, first thing you can see is, can you see any difference with the glasses on, with the sort of the interface and the Bayer test product? Can anyone describe what those differences look like with the glasses on? It's a pretty funky effect. It is. It's how the strings and the red paint fluoresces with the glasses on that's particularly funky. So can anyone see what's the difference with the glasses on between, say, the plots which have had the stress guard formulants versus the rest of the turf? They're darker. Yeah. And have a little look around the whole turf area as well, because obviously we haven't done a lot of control work in the surrounding areas. So it's a bit like a polka dot swimsuit. You can see loads and loads of blotches. So as you've got disease scars, active disease, it's a great way to pick out annual meadowgrass within the sward, because the meadowgrass is under stress. Obviously it's a different colour, and because these work on colour, you can really see those differences.
Forgive me if I am repeating, I don't think Christian said this earlier, but we've not added extra nitrogen to any other plots. The only differential is the fungicide treatments that they've had.